That's it. Loaded question, loaded answer.
All right then. In fact, it might be worth muting me because I can hear myself. Pop yourselves on mute and then unmute when you need to pipe up. You can use the hand up or just unmute yourself and shout up. Perfect. Right, we're going to crack on. So just briefly, just recap some of the key stuff we covered in the first meeting and around the project, around the vision, the mission and the aims. The main bit to focus on is that aims at the bottom there around, we're trying to dream big. We want to really push and increase the number of female teams with female volunteers. Again, to reiterate, that's not female managers, lead coach, that is volunteers listed with that team. So we're not ramping up the pressure to say we want lead coaches and all. We just want female role models associated with the teams in the county. And if that is as a bit part coach, as the manager, as a lead coach, whatever that is, that works for us, but we're really pushing to increase that number. So when we did the data cut, we were at 25% of our female teams. Now, clubs like what we've got, Barnsley, Nether Green, Hallam, Stephen, you'll be well above that threat. You'll be well above 25%. Hallam, you're doing pretty good from my conversations I've had previously. So it's not about saying, right, we're there, we're done. It's about how can we keep pushing that. And also we're looking at trying to increase the representation across committees. And just to reiterate again around that, it's not about replacement. It's about diversifying and having inclusive committees. So generally increasing the number of females on your committees, not to replace, just to increase that inclusivity. Obviously, there's other strands of the project, but they're the two key bits that link to tonight's kind of talk around recruitment. And we had these slides up previously on the last meeting, so it's a bit of a cycle that goes round and round that I just want to recap on around those diverse committees and diverse workforces, that it is all about creating the right environment to host that in the first place. It is about what we're looking at tonight, then recruiting a more diverse workforce. Your diversity increases and the club benefits. So we'll come on to kind of creating the right environment and the recruitment stuff tonight. But as the diversity increases, you should then have a more diverse set of skills, a bit more of a shift in your culture around your club. You'll have more role models and trailblazers. C1B1's really big at the minute. I think the referee situation for the Andorra game the other night, so powerful for any young girl watching. The official match officials, a full female team of officials. I mean, that is like the definition of C1B1. So we're really pushing that to have those role models and trailblazers. And essentially, for you as clubs, you're accessing a wider talent pool. So you're just getting access to more and better people by having that diversity increase. The benefits there. Committee and workforce quality improvements, a more balanced committee, more diverse groups don't suffer from things like groupthink, where you disregard kind of opinions from outside the kind of group that's running it. So there's loads and loads of benefits that we want you to be able to tap into, and that's at club level and at team level around your coaches. So I just wanted to recap on that from last time. What we're going to look at tonight, I've called it a new approach to recruitment. I probably shouldn't have written that because a lot of the stuff you'll already be doing it. So maybe a modern approach to recruitment would be a better word. We're going to briefly look very quickly on breaking traditions. A lot of the focus is going to be around widening the pool, the talent pool that I spoke about a minute ago. Then around being extremely clear around your recruitment and how you go about that. And then the key bit for me is the initial and the ongoing support, that when you get people through the door, and being specific in this situation, recruiting female coaches, you get them through the door, how to ensure that on day one it's a positive experience, and then from then on they feel supported throughout. It's not going to be massive content heavy from me, so I've put in some ideas, but this is one of them where if you've done something, please shout up and say we've tried that, or we did this, or that doesn't work, we did it this way and we got a better reaction. So it's one of those type of meetings. So the smaller group is probably beneficial, to be fair. So as a rule, I'm being very general here around breaking traditions. High percentage of grassroots coaches are parents, and in a high number of cases it's the dads. So it's just open to you. Why why do we think that happens? And again, I appreciate it might not be like that at your club, but why do we think that happens? You can fire in the chat or unmute yourself. Up to you.
I think for us, Tom, it's been dads tend to have the football experience and the confidence. We found when we've tried to go specifically for mums that the moment they immediately all say we don't know about football, or we've never played, or even those that have played don't feel that confidence, I think, to put themselves forward.
No, that's quite powerful. I think the two things you said there about the knowledge and the confidence is massive. It's absolutely massive. To put your hand up and volunteer if you're not feeling those two things is a big ask. So yeah, very much so. And I'll add on to that. Sometimes it's perceived that the dads have got the knowledge, and don't always do, but it's perceived that way at times. Stephen.
Because we're a relatively new club, I've been able to kind of guillotine that out. So we started with the premise saying, you're only going to get involved if you've got a female connection, or you are a woman, or you are a female coach. So it's great. It's now, say, for example, our under-8s, it's Katrina, the reserve keeper, her mother, and 2 other parents. And a brother comes on to help. On the under-10s, right, the women don't want to coach, but one of the husbands will coach reluctantly. Yet, in reality, when you look at the bench, it's the mum who's driving it. And of course, the steering group is all mothers. There are no males on the club steering group. On the management group, it's split, because people like me, the experience, my background, has just brought that slightly different to steer. Steer and managing are 2 totally different things, as we know. So you can, and the Wildcats, it's 100% female coaches. So there's, the 11s, it's Katrina, Crizia, the reserve team player, all right? And incidentally, 2 teachers on board, 1 woman teacher. The 10s, it's Charlotte, who's a player, and another teacher who's a dad. So it's kind of, it's been great being infant, because you can drive it from a total perspective of, sorry, it's a vacuum. There ain't no knowledge, there's no experience. This is us and this is new. And so, of course, really, I'm just ploughing investment into the girls and the women of the club and the mothers and so on. And I've told the mums and the girls that the whole point of that growth is that the sustainability is when you get older, you coach to carry on and come up through the next. So that cycle sustainability is built from that bit. However, remember, just like Darren and Matt, if I put my real experienced head on, it's totally men and it's totally dads getting involved because their kids play. And I think it was 98% is from grassroots. That was about the dad connection and the dad playing football and the historic bit. And of course, you know, I'm blaming Tom and his colleagues. It was their fault anyway. If you ban women's football for 70 odd years, then you need your head kicking in, don't you? You know, we're having to kind of, you know, break through that. Their fault. You know, it's all right now. The FA coming back at us, and I'm not having a go at Tom because Tom's brilliant. We all know that. But of course, in my role as well as a strategic lead of a schoolgirl football partnership, you know, I didn't have dressed down the FA, saying, "Don't you dare have a go at what you created, and we're trying to solve it and get it right for you." All right, because I mean, you invented sexism, so now we've got to kind of rip that apart. So yeah, I'm lucky really. I won't have that issue at all. I have the opposite issue. I'm telling the dads, and no, get back. You're not getting anywhere near.
It's interesting though that, like you said, I'm just gonna mute you, Steve. Myself, because you are new. That culture's kind of, it's been there. Sorry, Steve, I muted you, and then you clicked at the same time. There we go. So that culture's there. So you've not had to shift it, and it's kind of led to a situation where it's embedded, everyone knows it, and it's become the norm. That is quite interesting. Just Steve, just on that, how you made it abundantly clear, and I'm guessing you spoke about ex-players. Is there any parents or people that you would perceive to be non-football, and did they need an extra nudge, or did they have to have their concerns kind of eased before they took on the role? Have you had any parents, or is it mostly your players?
It's very mixed. Yeah, I'm looking as though I'm kind of Billy Graham here, but also my teaching background and my leadership background, I know a few tricks about empowering people, about making them feel that it's them, it's theirs, and it's got nothing to do with me. I'm just the caveat to set it up for you. So of course, you know, I very subtly influence it, saying, what are you going to do? What are you doing? What you know, what do you want? How are you going to do it? Rather than the question coming up to me and saying, I want to do this and we want to do that. I can flip it, saying, it hasn't anything to do with me. It's your team, it's your club. You buy into it, you own it, you steer it. And of course, the mothers on the group then, they just sift through who's in and who's out, and they very quickly find that pecking order, find that jungle culture of the doers and the not doers, and they can sift through it themselves. They'll only ever come back to me with, we can't solve this problem. How do we do it?
Okay, that's interesting. Right, I'm gonna shift it on to the next one. So what I'm hoping we cover down is that, I've used the word modern this time, it's better, a bit more of a modern, inclusive approach to recruiting. Like I said, there's loads of good stuff going on, so please do share, please do stick your hands up. So first bit we're going to look at, and sorry, if you're talking and you see me typing, it's because I've left my notepad downstairs and I'm writing notes so I don't forget the good stuff that you kind of share. So widening the pool, what does it mean? It's all about tapping in to all the resources available. So we've spoken about that traditional, it's the dads, they say, right, who's going to help? You kicked a ball, didn't you, back in the day? You're in. Or who's going to help? And everyone takes one step back and there's one dad left standing there, and they're the ones that get roped in. And that's that traditional kind of cliche grassroots football story. It's not like that everywhere, but it happens. So it's all about tapping into those resources and increasing the number of potential volunteers by removing the barriers. The last thing we want to do is narrow off the potential by maybe subtle things that we're doing that we don't notice, or by some quite clear things, like we said, they're only asking the dads, for example. We've automatically gone bang, halved your talent pool straight away. So increase the number of potential volunteers by removing those barriers. And there could be loads of things, the barriers. It can be simple things around unable to commit to the time, to things like there's no role models. I've never seen a female coach at this club, or I don't believe that there's a pathway for us, or I don't think we'll get the support. Or the club culture doesn't fit, or loads of different things. So it's all about trying to remove those barriers so that when it comes to those moments when we're trying to recruit, that we've got a nice wide pool and more potential, not only to get the right people, which is the most important bit, but it is numbers as well. The common battle I face when I'm at meetings with clubs is we can't get enough volunteers through the door. So we've got to open it up and increase the amount of people that we can access to get bums on seats and also get the right people. So generally, and again, I'm being really generalistic here, your volunteer pool is normally the dads, and then siphoned off again by you've got to have a bit of football experience, they've played or they've coached before or whatever, and they've got the free time. Those three things is like a tick. Yes, they're the people we can get through the door. So quite a narrow pool. What we're trying to do is widen that up. Widen it up. Stephen, do you want to come off on mute?
No, it was interesting on your previous slide, Tom. What the mothers and the female coaches are doing now is they're almost apportioning the crap jobs to the dads, saying, "We haven't got a ref, you're doing it."
Yeah.
You know, which is interesting, isn't it? It's kind of, I'm not saying that, the mums would have refereed before. However, it's there now. That because of they're in charge, they're saying the only thing you can get it to do is what we don't want to do as mums. All right, we'll run the team, we'll coach, we'll do all the other peripheral bits, but we don't fancy refereeing, so you do.
No, that is interesting, and it does kind of flip that that stereotype in previous years. I am stereotyping here. There are occasions I've seen where the dad coaches and the mum does the subs, that type of stuff on the match day, the tuck shop. So there is that stereotype. It is interesting that that's kind of gone the full reverse at your end. So that is quite interesting. So we're trying to widen that pool up and be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more non-traditional about the type of people that you recruit and the type of experience needed to join your club in one of those roles as a coach. I'll be brutally honest, having football experience in the foundation phase is, for me, recruiting, it couldn't be further from the top of the list. Not needed. It's all about, for me, the characteristics of the people, what they're like, what's their persona like. So particularly in the foundation phase, football experience should be pushed to the side, and we're looking at what type of people do we want around the club. We'll come on to that in more detail in a moment. Also, when we talk about non-traditional, we get very, very zoned in on, right, can you make Tuesday nights or Sunday mornings for 9 months of the year or 8 months of the year? Yes or no? Yeah, do you know what? I work shifts, so sometimes I'll miss Tuesday night or I won't be able to do Sunday, and those people get cast aside. Or actually, I'm a police officer, and again, I'm on nights, then I'm on days, and then I'm on evenings, so I can do some, but I can't commit to everything. And a lot of the time, those people get pushed aside. Actually, yeah, okay, it's not for you. Let's move on to the next person who's got that commitment. So again, can we think about how we can use the resource that's being offered? That it might be, actually, we've got a team of 2 coaches, but we like your character. I know you can't commit. So what about if we have you on this team, and when you can make it, you do, and when you can't make it, you don't. And again, so it's not a case of linked to the project. Like I said, don't need to be the lead coach, the lead manager, the lead person, but having that female role model, that female coach that can be there at times, and doesn't always have to be. It takes the pressure off them. And being part of it and being a coach for that team. So it is a little bit non-traditional, because I know we do get quite zoned in on availability and making sure you can be there for everything. But is there room within your clubs for those people that can't commit to everything but can offer you something that is beneficial for your players, but just not at every single match day and training session? So that pool there, what else we got on there? External volunteers, current players, people doing reduced commitment, people without any experience, maybe moving away from just, again, parents. What about grandparents? What about siblings? In terms of your clubs, where do you think you focus most of your kind of energy on? Is it the people within your club's kind of environment, or do we focus externally? Do you look to attract volunteers that maybe don't have an association with the club? Any thoughts on that, or any examples of that?
Certainly from us, we're looking to Hallam Uni to try and provide a few female coaches so that we can bring them in. Or we've got, I think, 6 teams and a Wildcat Centre, and they're all fully, there's between 2 and 4 coaches, predominantly male, for every team. Again, what you said about, some coaches can't commit all the time, but they're still involved, and when they can make it, they're in. But by and large, there's 1 or 2 lead coaches for every team. But we're trying to get as many female coaches in, even if it's just 2 or 3 that come in and give a session to a team a week. To just get that. And what, further to what I think you've been discussing on previous ones that I wasn't on, but I think I run the under-16s girls team, and I think of our 15 squad, 12 are going to go the player to coach route. So that's looking like those 12 will split across the Wildcats and the other 5 teams, and help with coaching for for the rest of the season.
That's brilliant. And students are a prime example of one of those that they've got loads of free time when they're in the city, but they generally live away. They're away at 4 weeks at Christmas, away for 3 or 4 weeks at Easter, go home quite early, arrive late. So it's like you said there, they're not going to come in and be a lead coach, but they could be the third coach or whatever. And actually having that role model, a female role model, they probably play football, generally students as well, or they're on a sports coaching, so they'll have some qualities that maybe your club don't have. And that's a great resource. But like I say, it's just being a little bit accepting, flexible, that yes, you're not going to be here for large portions, but what we can get out of you in that time and what the players are getting out of it is gold dust for your club. So yeah, absolutely, that's a great example there, that students around those kind of flexible people that you have associated with the club. So I've just knocked up a few barriers on here that we mentioned on the first slide, and then some possible solutions, just quick fire ones that are just off the top of my head actually earlier on today. So we've kind of covered this one already. Potential volunteer, but they work shifts, they can only do every other week, or they're on nights, days, evenings, that type of shindig where they can't commit to everything. And just having that, exactly what we've spoken about, a flexible approach, and try and allocate the part-time coaches with the teams that have already got 2 volunteers. So from a safeguarding point of view, from a ratio point of view, they're already boxed off and they're just complementing that. So that's one solution for those people that you think you'd be great, and I know you're a police officer, but there's still scope for you to come and join us here. Or I know you work shifts, there's still scope. This is how we get the best out of you. You'll join this established under 12s. We've got 2 coaches that are there week in, week out, and you'll come and complement them. So that's a possible solution. A mum of a player is reluctant to take on a voluntary role due to having no football experience. Possible solution, and something that I'd push, is have a clear support procedure in place for all your new coaches, and make sure that you advertise it and shout about it. By clear support procedure, let them know what the club will do for them should they take the role. This is what we'll do. You'll have an induction on day 1. We'll cover everything you need to know about the club, the philosophy, who your support mechanisms are, the safeguarding, all of that. We'll buddy you up. Hallam, you do that, don't you? Yeah, we'll buddy you up with this coach here. Ideally for female coaches, another female coach that's been here 3 or 4 years, really experienced, and you can go to them with any support issues, or if you're in a good situation that they can become a coaching pair. Brilliant. And just really push the narrative that experience is not required at your club. It's all about people, right people, fun, safe, engaging people. To try and put those worries at ease. Final one. I don't know, that's an awfully constructed sentence. A potential mum volunteer, that doesn't work well, has not stepped forward because they've not been asked, despite a number of dads being asked. And again, make it a point within your club to ensure that you use an inclusive language. You're not making the mistake of saying we need a coach, we need a dad to step up, because immediately you've halved your pool. And make sure that you advertise and speak to all the potential family volunteers in this case, to ensure that everyone feels that they've been asked, they've been included. And it might be actually not this time, but next time I get asked, I might step up for this one. So they were just 3 examples that crop up quite a lot, and some possible solutions. Again, open to the floor if you've got a challenge on that, or if you think we've seen that and actually this is how we've addressed it. Stephen?
I'm going to sneakily use that walking football to upskill those mums that want to potentially get involved, because there'll be a flood around it all as their kids are playing, and I'll get one of the female coaches then to let the mothers have a kickabout next door, kind of thing, and then just sneakily have a look at those that are showing a little bit more than just having a kickabout where the girls are next door, and maybe taking it a bit serious. I'm just going to get straight into the ribs and say, you know what, I'll pay for you to become a coach. Go and do the playmaker first. I'll do your DBS, get your first aided up, and then you can go with your daughter's team. And then if you know your younger one who's not ready yet, because they're only wildcats, they're only 5, why don't you then start thinking about running her team? It's that you can plan it, can't you? you don't have to kind of hope. You can direct it.
Yeah, totally agree. Dan?
I think we're going to do the same, Stephen. After when the Wildcats goes to a different pitch in April, we've got 2 mini soccer pitches next to each other. And while the Wildcats are going on, we're going to encourage the mums to just go and have a kickabout on the next pitch. Normally it's the brothers, but we maintain it and make it a mums. The other thing about potential mum volunteers, what we found, I mean, we basically just tried to get like anyone involved to get the under 8s going, and we did get a female volunteer to manage the team. She didn't want to do anything to do with the football, but what we're going to be doing next year, we're hoping to get at least 2 new teams next year, maybe more, but at least 2. And we're going to ask the current female managers and coaches, we've got 4, that they'd be doing the drive. It's always been me trying to get people involved and literally going and asking everyone at the school gates. Both my kids are no longer at that primary school, so we're going to try and get the current mums to do that driving, the current mums that are managers and volunteers to do that. And there, I think from that, we'll start getting more and more female volunteers.
That's brilliant. That's a great idea. That's quality. I like that. And that goes back to that C1B1 stuff we mentioned earlier, that the people do see barriers. I know it can be at times when it doesn't affect you, it can sometimes be hard to see those barriers. But if you are a mum that's approached, you go, hang on a minute, I don't see anyone else doing that looks like me or is a female. It is a bit of a stretch. And by celebrating the volunteers that you've already got, and like you said, they're using them to encourage the next kind of wave coming through us. So that's a fantastic idea. So I like that. Okay. Just bear with me because I've written my note. I normally write a script, and today I thought I'll use the notes on the slides, and I just regret it because I've lost them all. Right, where did we get to? Okay, so advertise, market, and be clear. We need to break some stereotypes. We've already covered. We need to attract a wider number of volunteers, and we've already mentioned about encouraging you to target values and characteristics of people over football coaches. So, question is kind of, are you already doing this? And how are you doing that? And are your intentions being backed up by your strategy? So do we kind of talk a good game, if you will, and say, yes, we want all different people coaching and volunteering at this club, but then do we let ourselves down when we go out and try and deliver that? But like Dan's just said, what a great example that is. That's backing it up in a big way, that you're really pushing that. And does the kind of current perception of your club allow you to be in a position to go out and hunt that kind of diverse workforce that you want at your club? So again, that's open to the floor if you've got any comments you want to make on that. Yeah, go on, Matt.
Yeah, so I haven't spoken much to that because our club's quite new in terms of the girls program, and it basically started because my 2 twin daughters were really well, and so I was stood in the right place at the right time. No cliche there, but got loads of girls signing up, and we've got more girls than we can coach really, and so I think it's been interesting because we're a boys club. Historically we've had like 1 girls team go through, but that kind of sort of fizzled out, and so I think we're sort of battling a lot with the fact that it's seen as a male sport really, and that actually for training or coming to watch, or mums are dropping off from a distance and then saying off you go, and then picking up from a distance. And so similar to what you're saying, I'm starting a mums and daughters session next door to the session that I'm running, because I'm doing an under-9s team and then having to run the development squad, and just all the time looking for volunteers. So sometimes when we're scratching around, it can feel a bit overwhelming for volunteers to step forward. So I think my first strategy is to just break down barriers of it being a sport really, and so sort of ideas for that. And I think once a team gets going, it kind of really starts to fall into place. But we're not at that stage where we can look at players or volunteers or any of those options, because our eldest players are 9. So I think it's really good to listen to you guys kind of a bit more established and seeing kind of what we want to move toward. But we also just want to keep the program running as well. So it's about, you know, sometimes maybe we come across as a bit desperate, and thinking about, I'm trying to get more people in the coaching side of it, but it's still dads, even though when I'm advertising it, and sometimes I'm not getting to talk to the other women because they're dropping off from so far away, and I'm there getting the cones out and everything. So if I get more dads to do the coaching, then I can go and talk to them. So it's, you know, it's a steady process really. But yeah, so it's just good to listen to some like more established clubs basically.
That is interesting, the difference in kind of your journey in the club's journeys, where you're at, and that is affecting how you can recruit. I guess that's something I'd not really considered throughout this, that by being so new to it, that is having, you almost got a different battle to that of Dan and Stephen. So that is interesting. Dan, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, Matt, just from our perspective, my under-16s team only started at under-12s. That was the first time. We've always said they were the first girls team. I believe there was an early one in like the mid-noughties, but only for a couple of seasons. But we've gone from one only, and we had the same stuff. There was a real perception of, well, how the picture's going to be. You know, we're going to ruin the pictures by adding another team. And it was like, well, you put another pitch on for a boys' team. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So we faced those, and it was a fairly enlightened club, but it still was way behind what it should be. And that was, again, same as you, my daughter. 2 years after that, my next daughter's needing a team. So we set up two, and from then it started to. We had two females running that team, my youngest daughter, but then their two girls were the most talented and have gone on to maybe a bigger club in terms of their football development. They've sort of sought out going there. So we lost two valuable female role models really in terms of coaches and managers. So yes, it's constantly a challenge, but we're, you know, 5 years in and we've got 6 teams, and, you know, maybe 6 years in we'll have 8 or 9. So it's a gradual progression, but you need to start. You know, we didn't have any of this, Tom, I think, when we started. So we were just feeling our way around and just trying to get in, really.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. So back onto kind of advertising and marketing and be clear. So for me, big things got to be around targeting those values, characteristics, the people, and putting football on the back burner, particularly in that situation there with your development teams and stuff. Football experience is not needed. It's all about, are you good with kids? Can you have a laugh with kids? Can you get on the level? Can you make it fun, enjoyable, exciting, and make sure they leave with a smile on the face? That's football in the foundation phase, and particularly that entry level. So massive on that. We've got to change the narrative. So we mentioned earlier around people don't get involved because they don't think they're qualified or knowledgeable. Stuff we've mentioned already. They don't have the time. There's no trailblazers or role models. They don't get asked is the really big one that popped up when we did some surveys. All the values don't align with the organisation. So if worst case scenario, they see it as a bit of a boys' club, no one's going to come and get involved in that. If they think, I don't like the way this club runs, I'm not happy with the way it looks from the outside. So that's generally why people don't get involved. So firstly, kind of, how do you currently market your club in general? And also, how do you go about advertising for voluntary positions? Is it the old school, whoever makes eye contact with me first, I'm making a segue for you and I'm going to try and catch you? Or is it a little bit more formal than that? And the reason I'm asking you how you currently market your club, I don't necessarily mean like marketing it for profit. I mean, what does it look like from the outside? So if a passerby was coming, or someone typed in girls football in Sheffield or girls football in Barnsley, what does your club look like from the outside? So that's the two-parter, how you're currently marketing, and do you have any other than the general catching parents or people that are watching and asking them if they want to get involved? Is there anything more formal than that? Go on, Dan.
Sorry, I'll just jump in now, but no, we don't really. We've got a website. We do a little bit on social media. We're a little bit in, you know, we need our managers across the club to give us the information to put out on social media. We've got a flyer for, we run a boys, it's not boys actually, it's a mixed one, but there's Wildcats and there's another academy. One's on Saturday morning, one's on the Wildcats is on Thursday. We've got flyers for that. and we just try and market our club. But we tend to stick relatively close to the area of the club. We're allied with a primary school. We might expand that to another couple. But yeah, we're known because all the kids wear the tracksuits to school. I just walked past the secondary school this morning, and there's about 8 or 9 girls all going in, all from different teams, all going in their Hallam Rangers tops, which is brilliant. But that's kind of how we market ourselves. In terms of advertising voluntary positions, we're trying to do it word of mouth. It's nothing formal.
No, interesting. Sure. I mean, I don't know about the marketing of your club, but I'm sure you must be able to put together some like decent videos, because I mean, isn't that your wheelhouse? Some Hollywood production.
It is, but I don't have the time. But yeah, I mean, funny enough, I wanted to, just before the original lockdown, we had all 5 of our teams were playing at Hallam at the fields on the 3 pitches, all on the same day. And I was ready to go and film that, because I thought that was going to be absolutely brilliant. And then lockdown happened, so that ruined the very first one, like the March 2020. So yeah, I ought to be able to, but not as yet.
Awesome. No, that's interesting. Around kind of, it is like that, to be fair, especially when your clubs are growing, that you do stick to your locality. And I'm more kind of that perception of your club from just anyone on the outside. What do they think about your club, or even the people on the inside, how the club kind of portrays itself? Do you shout about your values? Do you make it clear what you're about? So that's I think that's really important, particularly when you are trying to recruit people that maybe have not been involved before and don't know. They maybe have an opinion of football that is dated, if you will, that it's lad culture, that it's the committee meeting's going to be down the Dog and Duck at 9 o'clock on a Monday night. And I actually went to a committee meeting the other day, and I didn't leave till nearly 11 o'clock. It was carnage. But that type of, they have those opinions of football maybe from 15, 20 years ago when they were growing up. That actually isn't the case. But are we doing enough to make that apparent to them that these are the values that this club has? We've got Wildcats. It's all about fun, safe, engaging football for girls. And Stephen just commented in there around inclusive, friendly, welcome, female-orientated football programs. Not just football, the social and the mental side of it too. It's fantastic, and it's been really pleasing actually to hear about the stuff that you're trying to encourage the parents to play and get involved that way too. So the reason I asked about how you kind of advertise your voluntary positions is that traditionally it is word of mouth, make eye contact at your peril if you're one of the parents, or last man standing or last mum standing, that you're the last chance. If you don't do it, the team's not going to run, and go on then, or you kicked a ball, or you played at county level when you were at school and you come. And it's just, can we do more? And it kind of links to the way we market it as well. So what I'm proposing, and this isn't the end product, this is just a pebble in the ocean, let the ripples go. A new approach where we remove football jargon first and foremost. Absolutely no football talk at all. We outline the characteristics of the people that we want associated with your club in line with your values. You make sure within everything that you're doing that you outline the values of the club and what it is to be part of your club. Be crystal clear with the responsibilities that the role holds. And again, remove the football jargon. I'll give you an example of that again in a minute. And that's not to scare people, be crystal clear. That's to put people at ease as well. So if it is actually we're seeking a part-time volunteer, you're looking for a third person, you can get clearly outlined. You don't need to be at every training session and match to be involved. Immediately you put that concern at ease. Or it might be that, yes, this is full-time. I'm using job terms there, they're not jobs, but full-time. But actually you're going to be the support coach. There's a lead coach in place already. You will be supporting that coach. So by being crystal clear, you can put a lot of concerns or potential barriers at ease. Outline how the potential volunteer will be supported, what the club can offer them. I don't want it to be transactional. But like Stephen said there, I'll get your DBS sorted. I'll get you do your playmaker. I'll sort your first aid and safeguarding, and we'll take it from there. So by being clear that the qualifications and stuff will be supported by the club, but also a little bit more than that as well. What support are we going to offer them? It's not, here's your cones, here's your ball, off you go. It's when you come in, like we talked about earlier, you'll have an induction with the welfare officer and the chairman. They'll go through this, that, and the other with you around what it's safeguarding policies, club constitution, that stuff. But also, this is the environment we like to create. This is when, if the environment isn't as it should be, this is how we can support you. If you're having issues with parents, this is who you go to. If you have an issue with this is who you go to. This will be your buddy coach. They'll be with you the first year, and so on and so on. So what is the club offering to them, as well as what we're offering to them? Because actually you're offering them a great experience. You know, you're all volunteers. You know, like I had a session last night, and I'm like, I've been so busy recently. The club I work at has just gone into administration. You can probably guess who that is. And it's not been the best time, but tell you what, last night I had a session and I just felt mint after it. Like I just left it and I thought that was great tonight. So that's that kind of, that's the currency in grassroots football, isn't it? That you can have those moments that are just brilliant and they're free. So you have got a product to offer. It's just how we box that up and showcase it to those people. And again, advertise and market to the general public as well as your local, kind of your little ecosystem around the club. So, question again. I think the answer is no to a lot of these from the previous slide. Do any of you have job specs for the club? Do any of you? Yeah, Stephen has. Good. Go on.
I was just going to say as well, once we get that volunteer pool, the new volunteer pool in, I squeeze the treasurer and say, can I take them for a meal to go through the job description? So I take them down to the local Indian. I get a 10 quid or you think, because he's a sponsor. I've got him on side. I also taught his kids in Bradford, so he didn't upset me. All right. So because they all owe you a little bit because of the work you do for them in the past. No, take them for a lovely meal, make them feel so important. Go through the JD, tell them it's not about you worrying about conflict with the people in the club. That's my job. Don't argue, don't get upset. They want to give you some grief, just say, see Steve, nothing to do with me. I just do this because I'm doing this because I don't make the rules. So they know that it's a safe, supportive, friendly, welcoming bit. They will not have to encounter any criticism, any conflict. They can deflect that over to me, and I can then talk them to death.
Now that's another great example. So it could be the local Couriers, it could be local Costa or Starbucks or whatever. But those kind of conversations, those soft conversations, again, away from football, where you really, Stephen's experience, he knows the buttons to push and how to hook people into, like we were saying there, about that feeling of your kids for the team's first win, or them scoring the first goal, or whatever that is so important as a tool to hook people in. And so having those kind of informal conversations is massive. So great example again. So I've just, like I said on there, do we have job specs? Not really. Do we outline the benefits of the volunteer? Stephen's given us a good example there.
I can send you all an example of what we do.
No, that'd be superb.
I'll send it over to you, Tom, and then you can disperse.
Yeah, I'll disperse that. Not a problem. Perfect. Do we make it clear how they'll be supported? Stephen's example there is brilliant. And again, are we flexible in what we're what we're looking to recruit? So we've got an example here. This is rough and red. I've literally, look, it's plain white with blue text. This is not the finished product, but this is a different spin on recruitment. So this would be a little bit more formal. So it doesn't say we're looking for football coaches, come and join this football. It says, are you fun, safe and engaging? and I'll send you the slide deck if you after this, so don't feel like you need to take anything down. Are you looking for an exciting voluntary role that will be highly rewarding, lots of fun, in an inclusive and diverse organisation? Just 3 key points. No football talk at all. Our club could be the place for you. Again, on the headline, no football experience required. Now, that could be fired in as a PDF into a WhatsApp group for the parents. That could sit on your socials, whatever. But what we've tried to emphasise is we're after a fun and safe person. That's it. The role is lots of fun. It's highly rewarding. And it's an inclusive organisation. If you could marry that up with some videos from your coaches talking about their voluntary experience, you've then got something quite powerful. Again, I've got a photo on there as a female coach coaching a female team. So again, role models. If you could then insert someone from your club to show that there's already coaches there, or this is what it looks like. So rebranding, essentially, rebranding what we're after. And that's the hook. That's the first bit. This is an example job spec, and I can send you some formal ones. This one, again, is just a bit rough and ready. Just please take a note of the role straight off the bat. I'm not asking for a football coach. I'm asking for a parent football support volunteer, being quite OTT with that big name. But I'm just trying to emphasise, let's not put people off by calling it football coach or football manager. Or we're after someone to support the delivery of football, and you're a volunteer. That's what we're after. Club name, what's the role? Again, I'm hammering it home. No football experience required. I'm being quite specific on this one, that it's for an under-8 girls. It doesn't have to be that specific. And who their guide is. So if you're in this post, here's your support. And this is on the job spec. You're not going to be by yourself. You're not going to be left to your own devices. You're coming in as a support volunteer to work alongside the head coach of that team. And again, if you're looking for a head coach, it wouldn't necessarily look like this. Here's your responsibilities. So going back to being crystal clear, you've got to attend under-8s training, an hour a week, and the matches are 2 hours a week. To be fun, enthusiastic, and approachable, and a role model for under-8 girls. The important stuff: DBS, safeguarding, which the club will pay for and support. And your other responsibilities to assist the head coach during training sessions and matches, with the aim of ensuring players have fun. So nothing about developing techniques and skills at this time. Just making sure your role is almost the person that just ensures we have fun. Develop at your own pace, with the overall aim of feeling comfortable to lead practices, sessions, and matches. So instead of it being quite football heavy and football jargony and football talk, we've been really clear. We've almost rebranded what we're after, and we've made it clear that your main responsibilities are to be there for the girls and to be a fun, approachable person, with the overall aim that as you get more comfortable, the football stuff will come. And that's when you take them out for a curry and sit them down, or take them to Starbucks. That's when you can maybe just start to feather in a bit of the, so this is how we'll support you. Do your playmaker, and actually we'll buddy you up with a coach. And in this dream situation, there's already a head coach, and they're going to support you to do a practice here, a practice there. And as you get more comfortable, well, then you work towards maybe you lead sessions or that type of stuff. That's when you get that stuff in, but you've already got them hooked. You've got them where you want them almost. So that's a real simple job spec that I would encourage you for all your roles to have things like that, because it makes circulating it a lot easier. You're not having to have the same conversation a million times. But also you're putting it in people's faces in black and white. Actually, they've asked me every year for 3 years. I've said no, but now reading that, I could do that. I could commit to that. There's no pressure on me to be the lead football wise, or there's no pressure on me to be at every session, or there's no pressure at me to do all the coaching. I could do this. That fits me perfectly, and it suits my skill set. So I really recommend that you do have kind of job specs, and you could have head coach, football volunteer as 3 little specs that you use, and you can check and challenge or tweak them depending on age group or what you're after. This suits nicely for foundation phase, but you might adjust that for, if like Dan said, you're starting at 12, you might need somebody with a little bit more confidence in the football side of it, and you have to tweak it a little bit. So it might say back here, have you played football but you fell out of the game, or did you used to play football but you're not playing football anymore? We've got a role for you at our club. So that's again how you might tweak it. And again, it's an exciting voluntary role. It's rewarding, lots of fun. So just changing the narrative a little bit, changing the big focus of the advertisement and the job spec if you're using them, which I'd encourage you to do. And then the most important bit for me is your commitment as a club, having a look internally about your process and your commitment to new staff. And this is male, female, whoever, when they're coming through the door, that we don't lose them in the first year. So again, I would have this, if you're sending out a pack to, you're sticking a PDF in the parents group chat, you're putting it on your website, on your social media, we're looking for volunteers, I would include this because it shows your intent and it shows a little bit about you as an organisation, that we don't just get you in and off you go. This is how we operate. We're a classy organisation. So we'll pay for your DBS and your safeguarding. You'll have a club support person. They'll be your buddy during your time. We'll offer ongoing support and training if required. So playmaker, intro to football. You'll signpost them to county FA CPD or FA CPD or coach mentor, whatever that might be. And you'll have a full club induction upon your acceptance of the role. So that for me is an example of maybe a different approach to how you might go about recruiting new volunteers. It's not the answer, and you will never ever have to stop having the face-to-face chats and the face-to-face catching people at training. But can we complement it? And the reason I think it's beneficial is because it does a lot. It says a lot about your organisation. As well as asking you to volunteer, it's saying a lot about your organisation and what you are all about. So is there any thoughts on that as a process? And like I said, it's rough and ready. It's not a perfect example. It's not the example, but would you consider maybe changing your approach or adopting something like that, or even just looking to adopt the language you use around your club in regards to voluntary roles? Any thoughts? Yeah, go on, Dan.
Yeah, I think I've got to jump. I was just typing a message and I've got to jump off in 4. But no, I really like that. I've been sort of making notes, but obviously you're going to send that across.
Yeah, I'll send it out.
I think it's great taking all the football jargon. It's the football jargon that tends to put people off that aren't familiar. So yeah, no, I can't remember what the line was. I quite liked. It was something like like parent support volunteer and not even use the word football. Club support guide. I really like that whole sort of way of doing it. It probably worked for us.
Yep. So I'm more than happy. I'll obviously send you this stuff out. If you want to sit away from this and have a look at some additional stuff, we can do that. Just before you go, because I know we said we'd be done at 1:30. This page here, there is. I was going to ask around what support you've also got in terms of your new coaches. There is an FA event. I don't know what they're calling them anymore. Webinar, Zoom, I don't know what they're calling it, but this is all about supporting female coaches in your clubs. So I think it's Sue Smith. It's a regional coach development officer whose remit is female football that's delivering it. So it might be worth jumping on because it looks at how you support female coaches within your clubs. So could be a great opportunity. It's next week, I think, on Monday. So Dan, don't feel like you've got to stay. If you need to dip out. We'll be done in the next few minutes anyway. Stephen, is there anything that you do at your club in particular to, once they're in, what happens next with a new volunteer? So you're on mute, Stephen. I'll get you. Oh, I broke my computer. What have I done here? How do I get this off? There we go. Still on mute, Stephen. I'm not going to touch it, so I'll break it. There we go.
Yeah, but yeah. So what happens then is, of course, that from the steering group, because remember what we all know that often they obviously follow their children into the club. So if the children leave the organisation, they do too. So what we try and intercept that is by ensuring that their children never leave, all right? Because it's their task then to work with their children to find out what role they want to do on obviously, if they don't want to play, then what do they want to do? So that you're going to get to the cusp of the end of a playing career, or diffidence, or distractions. However, the allegiance is you are a club member, therefore you can't go away.
Yeah, I get that. So you're making them feel part.
Reinvest. You have to reinvest in some way, shape, or form what your role is within the club. Because remember, it's got nothing to do. I'm out of here. I'm just the male at the back, who's the person who's got the managerial skills and the leadership skills, just to cover the organisation, all right, and head the management group. So of course, what we're going to intend to do is to make sure that if they just want a social part of the club to do, get-togethers, fun, fitness themselves, play. We've got creches lined up, remember. So it's about making sure that whatever they want to do within the club isn't necessarily football.
I think what speaks there is that they're almost getting that affinity with the club, where getting to the point where even if their child does drop out of the game, that they've developed that relationship with the club. That
you implant ownership.
No, that is really interesting point.
You have to, if you want to create something sustainable, you have to get out of the paradigms of you must do this. You've got to get away from you can do whatever you want. But remember, part of the core is the girls wanting to play football, which is what brought us all together in the first place. That doesn't necessarily mean what it's about.
Really important that. Yeah, totally agree. So we'll finish on this slide. Here's what I've done is I've written notes about these on the next few slides. So when I send the deck out, there'll be more information, but we'll finish it on this one. So just some best practice suggestions. And I'll be honest with you, my background, I'm not a development-minded. My background isn't that. My background is sports coaching, coach development. So that's been most of my career, working as a coach or as a tutor or that type of stuff. So this is more my wheelhouse. But just some best practice suggestions. So we've already covered the club induction, so important. Make them feel loved. Make sure they know who they can speak to in case of X, Y, and Z. Make sure they know what the club's about. They're really important elements. Making sure that we are, where we can, we're financially able to, we are supporting them with qualifications. And you know what? If that means they come to you and say, I've loved it for the first 3 years, I want to do my level 2. Even if you can't cover it, how can you support them? It might be we can part fund it, or we can give you 10% or 20, whatever it is. But really ensuring that you are giving them the mandatory stuff and then supporting them with any additional stuff. The buddy system, which we've spoken about, Dan, they've got that in place. I've spoken to them at length around that. New coaches always get buddied up. The dream is that they're buddied up with the person they coach with. Can't always be like that. But buddying new coaches up with people with a little bit more experience, people that have seen it, people that have seen parents arguing on the sideline and playing a game without a referee and turning up and you've only got 9 instead of 11. They've seen it all. Buddying them up to share on experiences, watch them coach or go with them for a bit, those type of things. Again, in other situations, it might be beneficial to have lead coaches so that when you're recruiting, you're putting them as the secondary coach so they know that they're in a supportive role and it takes a little bit of pressure off. Again, I push for you, if you've got a coach at your club and you think they're a great coach, how can you adapt their role for the benefit of all the coaches at your club by maybe having a head of coaching or a lead club coach that, even if it's just in the summer, they put on an evening where you do some sessions, they deliver, they share best practice, they say, this session works for me, these are the practices I do, this is how I approach things. Again, we're just creating a supportive network around all of your coaches, but in particular, your new ones. Again, it might be that you look to get some. See, Steve, Matt will be done in a minute, 1 minute time, I promise. It might be that you look at in-house support, so getting tutors in, getting mentors in, or again, external people to come in and do support sessions with your coaches. Always having your first season in a coaching team rather than being by yourself. And the big one for me for clubs is when we get coach. And I'm not going to be calling them CPD anymore. It's all going to be coach support sessions. But when we get them on as clubs banging the drum to get your coaches on them, because they're great support structures for them. So we'll leave it there, Max. I don't want to keep you on all night. We've done an hour and 4 minutes. In fact, with the lateness of everyone else, we've done an hour there, haven't we, to be fair? So
yeah.
I'll leave it there. Like I said, on the slide deck that I send out, I've written some notes around each of those areas. So there's a little bit more detail. But hopefully that's been beneficial.
Yeah, really helpful. Yeah.
Have you got any questions or anything you want to ask, or anything that crops up in your mind that you think we need some support here or there, or we need to maybe look at that?
It's breaking up quite a bit. It's sort of quite a bad connection. I don't know if it's my end or your end, but it's sort of, I can't really.
It's normally me, I'll be honest.
Seem to have a conversation, but yeah, it's been really helpful, really good ideas. So thank you.
Okay, all right. So we'll leave it there. I'll send you a link to the recording. I'll send you the slide deck. I'll send the job specs. And if you want any further info or additional support, just give me a bell. You've got my number or my email, and we can look at getting something penciled in the diary.
Yeah,
okay.
Cheers. Thanks, Tom.
Jumping on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.